Hello, my friends. Let's do our weekly rune reading for February 6th through the 12th. We'll be doing Monday to Sunday, just so you're aware. So, how this will work is we will pull runes for the beginning of the week, the middle of the week, and the end of the week. So, we'll be talking, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, we're going to get the flow of the week. First, let's pull for the beginning of the week. If you've been watching any of my other videos on TikTok or YouTube, you'll know that I usually pull a rune for the energy and then one rune on how not to interact with it and one rune on how to interact with it. We'll do the same thing here. So, the energy for the beginning of the week is going to be Querth. Querth is a rune of the funeral pyre. It's also a rune of flash transformation. It's a rune of fire. It's a rune of quickness. Funny, because we did just move into fire season, I believe, with Imbolc, or Imbolg. I will be making notes here so we can talk about this a little bit further when I see everything put together. So, Querth, how do we not interact with Querth for the beginning of the week? It's Perth or Perto. So that is a rune of mysteries. That is a rune of risks. I would venture to say that right now, without even having to deep dive into any of that energy too much, don't fuck around with fire. Okay, if something's quick and able to catch on fire real quick, able to burn you, don't mess around with it. Don't take a risk. Don't take the unnecessary risk. How should we interact? Pardon me. How should we interact with that? Ooh, interesting. Another fire rune. So Nauthiz is the rune of need fire. So, beginning of the week, when it comes to necessity, when it comes to quick, when it comes to fire, let's just put it that way. When it comes to fire, what we're looking at is don't fuck around with fire. If you need something that's really quickly transformative, or if you're looking at the need for fire, then it's okay to interact with fire. So fire, passion, sex, creativity, even as mundane as your power bill, your wood stove, your cooking, things like that. So be careful with fire in the beginning of the week and only really use it as really needed. Don't fuck around. Okay? So, middle of the week. I always find it fascinating when the runes pull so brilliantly in line with the energies of the year. The quickening was Imbolc. We move into fire season, the element of fire, and two of the fire runes show up. So I think it's really cool. I will say, I've been doing this for almost 15 years, and I'm constantly surprised, and I shouldn't be surprised anymore, but I still am. So, middle of the week. Middle of the week energies are Urus. Urus is that wild, undomesticated part of us. Urus is strength. It's pushing through. It's pushing forward. It's connected to the Aurochs. So, how do we not interact with it for the week, or for that part of the week? Ak. Interestingly enough, Ak is another rune of strength. But it's the oak tree. It's the rooted strength, the immovable strength. So how not to interact with it, how not to interact with Uru's strength, the undomesticated self. This week, try not to dig your heels in, so to speak. Allow the flow of that movement and that strength to not be static and not be stagnant. How do we interact with it? How to best interact with it this week? Is Ingvaz. Ingvaz. So that is a rune of sacrifice. It can also be a rune of fertility. It can be a rune connected to the god Freyr, or Ingvi Frey. So, Uruz and Frey, Uruz and Ingus, or Ingvaz. When we're looking at those two interacting together, that strength, that undomesticatedness, we may have to be coaxing that out a bit. You may have to sacrifice some things in your life to be able to access that strength and that push through strength. A lot of times, the things we have to sacrifice are the things that don't serve us and that keep us domesticated. I talk about this all the time if you've been following me. The bit, the reins, the saddle that are on us, those things are the things that we need to sacrifice to be able to allow for those things to be moved off so that we are complete, unbridled, undomesticated, wild, and able to access our core essence. So, middle of the week, we're looking at letting go of some things that kind of keep us from accessing our true essence or accessing our ability to be our wild, untamed selves. Now, the end of the week, so we're looking, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10, 11, 12. The energy of those few days is jumpy. The energy of those few days, sorry, they were jumping in my hand, is Othala, or Othila. That is actually a rune of ancestral land. It's also about family. It's about inheritance. It's about those type of things. A broad idea is family. So how do we not interact with that energy that's going to be prominent for the week or for those 3 days? So Ewaz is another rune of movement, but it's a rune of movement as far as giving it direction. Like, the momentum's there. You need to tell it where to go. So don't be pushy with family, right? Don't try and over-direct family this weekend. How do we interact with it? Oh, Oath. Oath is really beautiful. Oath is the rune of the bard. Oath is our relationship with our breath as far as creation. So a good way to interact with it this weekend is to spend time talking, to spend time creating the future that you want, like talk about trips to take, or even talk about stories of past trips or ancestral stories that have been passed down. It's a good time to exchange and create with our breath. So let's not be bossy this week and try and direct everyone toward the end of the week as far as family goes. But let's exchange stories. Let's shoot the shit. Sit around the campfire and bullshit. Let's talk about future plans and create with our breath. So, my friends, this week is going to be an interesting week. Let's recap. The beginning of the week starts out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday-ish, right? With Querth. Querth being the rune of the funeral pyre. We are not going to take unnecessary risks when it comes to things where we can get burned. Okay? And we're only going to take risk, make decisions. No, take risk, I guess. Not even take risks. We're only going to interact with that fire in terms of need. Okay? Yes. So, let me rephrase that again. When it comes to the beginning of the week, and we're talking about fire and need and creativity, we're not going to be fucking around. We're only going to use those things as we need them. Okay? Don't waste the energy trying to do other things. Only the fire as needed. As we move to the middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're looking at Urus. Urus is where we're looking at how domesticated are we in our lives, and how do we kind of get rid of those things, right? So, it's also a rune of strength. We're not going to dig our heels in, and try and stay rooted and grounded in one spot and immovable. That's not how we're going to interact with Urus. We're going to interact with Urus in a way where we're going to sacrifice the bit, the reins, the saddle. Now, the one thing I didn't mention before is that you know they're a sacrifice, and you know that sometimes the bit and the reins and the saddle are things that have kept you alive. They are protections that we've put in place, or things that we've adopted, boundaries, for ourselves, that keep us domesticated. So, we're going to be sacrificing those and looking at the different things to get rid of so that we can have access to a more of our true essence of ourselves, the undomesticated self. Middle of the week. End of the week, so we're talking Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're looking at family. What are we not going to do? We're not going to be bossy. We're not going to try and over-direct everyone's interactions, everyone's plans. What we're going to do is we're going to hang out. We're going to tell stories. We're going to create our future with the new things that we're talking about. We're going to use our breath to create this connection and to allow the flow of this week to be, the end of the week, to be about family, creation, and remembrance of story. So, let's take a little bit of time and drum to help integrate this information so that as we look at preparing for our week, we will feel any adjustments that need to be made in our schedule or in our to-do list so that we can experience our week with less unnecessary resistance than before we knew what the rune wisdom had to tell us.